Editor-in-chief of The Atlantic breaks his story saying that he was accidentally added to a group chat on Signal where Trump's administration was discussing attacking Yemen. And let me just say, as a journalist and as a general political observer, this is one of the strangest stories that I have ever heard. Okay, so boom. Goldberg looks at his notifications and realizes he's in the middle of a group chat of the most important members of Trump's cabinet regarding national security decisions. Because it turns out, in all of his wisdom and technological competence, Mike Waltz accidentally added him thinking that he was somebody else. Now, Goldberg, as a journalist, is in the middle of a group chat where they're discussing attacking Yemen hours before it happens. And as a journalist, any real journalist, bruh, you're foaming at the mouth to report this news. I mean, they weren't just discussing Yemen. There was actually an ongoing debate where J.D. Vance was challenging the idea that attacking Yemen was actually in the best interest of the United States, or was it in the best interest of other people who had nothing to do with the United States and had nothing to contribute if we did successfully attack Yemen? Yeah, in other words, J.D. Vance was effectively saying, yeah, I know Israel wants us to do this, but I don't see how this really helps us. I mean, and the fact that J.D. Vance had to have that conversation in the group chat because he probably was scared to have it privately is news in and of itself. But no, Goldberg finding out the news that the United States was going to attack Yemen, and that there was a whole debate about it, on March 15th, hours before the attack took place, decided to wait until March 24th to break the news, and only really wanted to do so to say that there's a massive security breach and they're texting in a Signal app that you can download on your phone. That's the real story. And you have people like Ian Bremmer saying that you gotta give props to Goldberg for his high standards of professional journalism, because he immediately left and informed a relevant senior official and made the public aware without disclosing intelligence that could damage the United States. See, we got two different definitions of a professional journalist, because a real professional journalist in a situation like that is just gonna sit back, be quiet, be a fly on the wall, and report everything that happens in that group chat anonymously from whatever publication they can. But instead, the man goes and dry snitches on himself to the Trump administration. And do you know how he gets rewarded for being a good little imperialist Zionist lapdog? The Trump administration basically comes out in full force and attacks him. When Trump gets asked about the leaks during a press conference, he's like, I don't know anything about it. Not a big fan of The Atlantic. Heard it's a magazine that's going out of business. Oh, hold up. What did you say? Just immediately insults the dude and insults The Atlantic magazine.
Your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective, because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
Pete Hegseth said that Goldberg has mischaracterized the situation and that nobody was texting war plans, despite the fact that we all saw the text of the war plan.
Those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Now, as a journalist who would have loved to be in a situation like that, I was curious as to why Goldberg would be so adamant about not reporting this information until weeks after it actually mattered. Yeah, so it turns out that Goldberg at one point actually left an Ivy League university to go be part of the IDF and be a prison guard, where he admitted in his memoirs that he helped cover up serious prisoner abuse. As another revealing testament to his journalistic credibility, he allowed, as editor-in-chief, the publication of an article called The Great Fake Child Sex Trafficking Epidemic in 2021, after the Epstein trials. Oh, and here's a picture of the owner of the Atlantic hanging out with Ghislaine Maxwell, but I'm sure the two have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So like, Goldberg, what did you gain from this? Because now you're just about to be a pariah for the Trump administration and lose all access. Any journalist with a single iota of self-respect for their craft will no longer take you seriously after snitching on yourself instead of riding that train. And I don't know if Trump was telling the truth about the Atlantic possibly going out of business, but now everybody's spending the entire day exposing your ass because you opened your mouth looking for attention 10 days later instead of saying what should have been said when you got the information. So you're probably going out of business sometime soon because ain't nobody going to take y'all seriously anymore. Let this be a lesson to all of y'all. If you want to avoid a train wreck like this shit in the future, don't be like Jeff Goldberg. Report the news when it's supposed to be reported, not when you think it's the most convenient for your Zionist convictions.